Welcome back, everybody, to the Miami Marlins franchise here on MLB The Show 23. Today, we're going to get through a large portion of September here in season number 2 of the series. We are now all hands on deck for a potential playoff run, and today's episode will be critical. Last time around, we live streamed the month of August here on the channel. If you would like to watch the 2.5-hour live stream in full, I will leave a card at the top right of your screen for you to check out. If you missed the live stream or don't feel like watching a whole 2.5-hour thing, we'll recap what happened here real quick. We started off by going through the overall ratings and potentials of our draft picks. I went more in depth in the live stream, and we also went through everybody else's draft class. But overall, I feel pretty good with our group, especially considering the draft class as a whole did seem pretty weak. We called up Jacob Berry, one of our top prospects at third base. He's had an up and down season at AAA, but I did feel like he was ready for the big leagues, and so far he's been pretty good, hitting .278, couple homers. He did have an underwhelming debut, going 0 for 4 in a loss against the Blue Jays, but other than that, he has gotten off to a pretty good start within the first month of his big league career. We played 2 games in full, and they went very differently. The first one, we lost to the Brewers 10-3. We just allowed too many base runners. The Brewers got 17 hits and were smacking the ball around the park. Yuri Perez got the start in this game, and he had an overall pretty rough August, although most of the team, in terms of the offense and the pitching, was quite good. Throughout the month, we just had some dud games, such as this one, where the pitching forgot to show up whatsoever. The other game that we played was also a blowout. It kind of sucked that both of the full games in the live stream were not super close, but we won this one against the Mariners 12-5. Again, there was no shortage of offense. Jacob Berry hit his second career big league homer, and per popular request, we had Rowdy Tellez pitch the 9th inning. He even had a strikeout, believe it or not. We had 19 hits in this game. The Mariners had 14. So there were base runners galore, a ton of action in that one. And overall, the team was pretty good in the month of August, as we're now 67-67, perfectly balanced as all things should be, headed into the month of September. We don't have too many games left to go, only 28, and this is our opportunity to really catapult ourselves in the National League standings to hopefully grab a playoff spot. Both the AL and the NL are very competitive. The Guardians hold a tight lead in the Central, but that's really the only thing that's set in stone in the American League. The East and the West are both very close. There's a bunch of teams fighting for playoff spots. In the National League, the Braves and Dodgers are leading their divisions comfortably, but the Cardinals and Cubs are currently tied in the Central, and we've got a very tight race for the wild card spot. The Marlins currently the first team out because, as you'll see here in the standings, there's currently 4 teams with a wild card spot, but one of them, the Cardinals or the Cubs, will win the Central, so they don't technically count. So we are the first team out, only 3 games behind the Phillies. We have a 2-game series against the Phillies pretty early in September, so that one's going to prove to be very important. Another big storyline throughout August was the performance of Gavin Lux, who we acquired at the trade deadline from the Dodgers. He was one of the best players in the National League through the month of August. My goodness, do we have ourselves a total stud at the shortstop position? I mean, he was phenomenal in his first month as a Marlin, and the rest of the offense was pretty good too. The pitching was more of a mixed bag. Trevor Rogers and Edward Cabrera both had very good months. Jesus Luzardo and Yuri Perez, not so much, while the bullpen continues to be extremely inconsistent. In the month of September, teams need to have 28 players on their big league roster, so we're going to have to call up 2 guys from the minor leagues, hopefully 2 players who can really impact our chase for the playoffs, and we'll talk about that a little bit further. But beforehand, we're going to start with this late August series against the Oakland Athletics. We would end up winning the first 2 games in very different ways. We would win the first one 10-1. Rowdy Tellez homered twice. Yuri Perez bounced back in a major way. And then we won the second one 1-0. Sandy Alcantara with a complete game shutout. So we're now 2.5 games back at the final wild card spot. Now we have to call up 2 players from the minor leagues. And I thought about it for a little bit. They were tough decisions, but I'm going to go with Jorge Alcala as our first player. We acquired Alcala last year from the Twins. He wasn't all that good, but this year out of the bullpen in AAA, he has been fantastic. 2.15 ERA, .99 whip. He has been electric down in the minors, and I'm hoping he can try to replicate that as much as he can in the big leagues, despite the fact that he was pretty poor a year ago with us and Minnesota. So we're going to add him to the bullpen here for the month of September. Hopefully him being there can help the bullpen get to be a little bit more consistent. And then for our final spot, we're going to bring up Gerard Encarnacion. I thought about some other guys in AAA like Xavier Edwards, Jordan Groshans, and Victor Mesa Jr., but all of those guys have struggled this year at the big league level, so I'd rather take a shot on Encarnacion, who did perform very poorly last year in the majors, but he has been pretty good in the minors, and I want to give him an opportunity. I did think about calling up Woody Landry, but I just want to give him the whole year in the minors before we consider calling him up. We'll simulate the final game against the A's before we get into the Phillies series. We end up winning 3-1. Good performance on the hill from Trevor Rogers. So we sweep Oakland, and we are now 70-67, which is a game and a half behind the Phillies, who currently have the third wild card spot. And we've got a 2-game series against them here in Philadelphia. So if we win both of these games, we will pass the Phillies and become the third wild card in the National League. So we're going to play this first matchup here in the city of brotherly love. One of the biggest games in the regular season, period. I mean, these two teams are very close together for the final wild card spot in the National League. The Phillies have been the final wild card team 2 years in a row, and they have been majorly successful in the playoffs. They made the NLCS last year. The year before, they made the World Series, showing that just because you're the 6th seed doesn't mean you're out of it. Andrew Painter is on the bump for the Phillies, one of their top pitching prospects. This is his rookie year. He has started in 17 games, and he's been pretty up and down. Not bad per se, but he's got a lot of work to do, which is understandable for a 20-year-old. Luis Arraez leads things off. He singles into left field. A good start here for the Marlins as they get an early base runner. We'll see if they can strike first in this one. That'll bring up Jazz Chisholm, who's had a pretty good last month and a half or so. He strikes out on the slider. Nice pitch by Painter for the second out of the inning, and he would get through the rest of the inning with no problem. Edward Cabrera is on the hill for the Marlins. The young righty has had a very good season this year, really turning into one of the premier young pitchers in baseball as he strikes out Alec Bohm for the second out of the inning. Now trying to retire the side. He faces off against Bryce Harper, still one of the best players in the game for nearly a decade now, and he goes down looking on the fastball. 1-2-3 inning for Edward Cabrera, who retires the side. Nothing going here in the first inning for either offense. That'll bring us into the second now. Nick Fortes leads it off for the Marlins. Fortes continuing to be one of the best catchers in the game as he grounds it to short. And Trey Turner's throw to first is not in time. Fortes is actually pretty fast for a catcher, showing it on that play, as he will get an infield single. Nice opportunity for Jesus Sanchez, who has also had a very nice second half of the season. His average has gone up to around 270 now as he singles into center field. That's a massive improvement for Sanchez, who only hit around 220 last year. So there's 2 runners aboard. A huge opportunity here for the young third baseman, Jacob Berry. He goes down looking on the fastball. Nice pitch by Painter. We'll see if he can make it out of the inning as he faces off against Harrison Bader, who strikes out on the slider. Painter has allowed a couple early base runners, but the Marlins have not been able to score anybody yet as we go to the bottom half of the second. JT Realmuto, the former Marlin. He checks his swing. Of course, Realmuto traded a few winters ago for Jorge Alfaro and Sixto Sanchez, a trade that has not really worked out too well for the Marlins, although the jury is certainly still out on Sixto. Luis Arraez swings and misses, a rare Arraez strikeout. Full count now for Jazz Chisholm with 2 away. He swings and misses as well. That's 3 scoreless for Andrew Painter. A good start for the young 20-year-old rookie. Into the bottom of the third, 2 away for Aledmys Diaz. He grounds out to short. Lux makes the play. 3 perfect innings. 9 up, 9 down. Edward Cabrera off to a great start in this one as we move to the fourth. Still scoreless. Will either team be able to put themselves on the board here? Rowdy Tellez looking to make a play as he hits this one into the opposite field, and it goes off the wall. Tellez thinks about 2, but he's going to head back to first. For most people, that probably is a double, but since Rowdy Tellez is slow, that is not going to be the case, and the big fella will hold up. That'll bring up Gavin Lux now with 1 away, 2-2 count. Lux rips it up the middle. That'll go for a base hit into center. And so the Marlins have 2 runners aboard and a great opportunity to finally take the lead. 2 on, full count, 2 away. Huge opportunity for Jacob Berry, who strikes out on the fastball. Painter makes it through the fourth as it still is scoreless. Can the Phillies get anything going offensively here in this inning as Bohm grounds it to short with 1 away? Close play to first, and they got him. Good play by Gavin Lux. The perfecto still alive. Bryce Harper up now, 1-2, checks his swing. Umpire says he went around. 4 perfect innings for Edward Cabrera. I don't want to jump the gun, but He is looking pretty good today. And at the 5th now, the master baiter strikes out on the fastball. Obviously, Cabrera has been phenomenal, but so has Andrew Painter. Scoreless through 4 1/3, looking to keep it going against Luis Arraez. He has that pitch go behind him. What was Andrew Painter cooking on that one? Following pitch now, 2-2, 1 away, nobody on for Luis Arraez as he lines this one over to short. Trey Turner, nice play, backhanded throw is in time for the second out of the inning. That'll bring up Bryan De La Cruz, who obviously was an all-star this year. Hasn't been all that good since the all-star break. Only 1 home run. Hasn't hit for much contact. Weekly pops this one into foul territory, and Rhys Hoskins will make the play. It's now 5 scoreless innings for Andrew Painter, and we move to the bottom of the 5th. 1-2 for Castellanos. Cabrera looking to get him on the outside slider, and he does. 5 perfect innings for Edward Cabrera. Just a few episodes ago, Sandy Alcantara went through 5 innings perfectly. It did not last through the 6th, so hopefully Cabrera will have a little bit more luck. The scoreless tie certainly will not last through 6. Jazz Chisholm starts the inning off with a bang as he homers into right field, and Miami is on the board as they now lead it 1-0. We had no scoring up until the 6th inning, where Jazz decides to finally break the tie, his 28th homer of the season. That leads the team, so it is 1-0. Chisholm going to Euro step into home plate, his signature move, and Miami has the lead. We'll see if they can look to extend the lead now, and it won't be against Andrew Painter, who's taken out of the game after 5 very strong innings. Griff McGarry will come out of the bullpen. He's been pretty bad this year. His ERA is in the 8s. Perfect opportunity for the Marlins to capitalize, but it won't be here in the 6th, as McGriff will get through the next 3 batters with ease. But not a bad inning, though. The Marlins are now finally on the board. That'll bring us into the bottom of the 6th inning now. Brandon Marsh leads it off for the Phillies, grounds it up the middle, and Lux cannot make the play. The perfect game and no-hitter is dead for Edward Cabrera. He took it into the 6th inning, but unfortunately we will not witness history. With 2 away, Trey Turner singles into right. So now the Phillies are really in business. We've got 2 guys on. Base hit drives in a run. Extra base hit certainly drives in 2 because it's Trey Turner. Bohm with a weak dribbler to the pitcher. Cabrera will make the play, and that'll make it through the inning. 1-0. Marlins still lead. The perfect game and no-hitter is dead, but the shutout is still intact for Cabrera. Into the 7th now, Jesus Sanchez rips this one into right field. It's got a chance. It goes off the wall. Sanchez will make his way over to second with a double. It really looked like at first that was a home run, largely in part by Citizens Bank Ballpark being a hitter's friendly park. Sanchez doesn't get that luck, but Jacob Berry certainly will. Berry crushes it into right. That's a 2-run shot, and the Marlins lead it 3-0. The rookie, Berry, the former LSU Tiger, with his 3rd big league homer, and now the Marlins offense is coming alive. Harrison Bader strikes out for a 3rd time today. That's a hat trick. Griff McGarry trying to keep some momentum after allowing the homer, as he'll now face off against Luis Arraez with a full count. Arraez got a base hit earlier today. That one looks like it'll be another as it drops into shallow left field. And so the Marlins have another base runner as they look to extend the lead even more now that the offense has completely awoken. Bryan De La Cruz is up next, and he will ground this one right over to 3rd. Bohm flips it to 2nd, over to 1st for an inning-ending 5-4-3 double play. Still a good inning, though. The Marlins drive in 2. Bottom 7. It's Harper who grounds it to 3rd. Berry, backhanded throw in time. Nice play by the rookie. Edward Cabrera still dealing. He's now over 100 pitches as Kyle Schwarber got hit, but he checked his swing, and so that'll be strike 3. JT Realmuto now up, full count. He strikes out as well, this time on the fastball. 7 scoreless for Edward Cabrera. We'll see if he can go for the complete game or the shutout. Some more run support would certainly be helpful. It might not happen, and as Rowdy Tellez strikes out here in the 8th inning. McGarry's still in the game for the Phillies as we go bottom 8. Castellanos singles into center, so the Phillies start the inning with a base runner. We'll see if they can do any damage. Big opportunity for Brandon Marsh. He grounds it over to 1st. Tellez over to Lux. Back to Tellez. 3-6-3 double play. Big play from the Marlins. And so that'll bring up Rhys Hoskins. Cabrera now at 123 pitches, looking to make it out of the 8th. His slider has been deadly tonight. Here's another one. Hoskins swings at a outside slider in the dirt. 8 scoreless for Cabrera. Will he go for the complete game in the 9th? We will find out in just a little bit. In for the Phillies out of the bullpen is the veteran lefty Matt Strahm. 3.74 ERA on the season for him. He'll start off against Gavin Lux. A little lefty on lefty crime. And it looks like Gavin Lux will win the battle. He singles into center field until the Marlins get themselves a base runner. We'll see what they can do with Lux aboard as they look to extend the lead even further. 3 runs is nice, but the Phillies do have some very good offensive players and are capable of making a rally. Gerardo Encarnacion comes in off the bench. His first big league at bat of the season is a strikeout. Not overly exciting stuff there from Encarnacion. Jacob Berry is up now. Grounds this one over to first. The Phillies will look to turn 2, and they will. I did not mean to have Berry slide for first, but nonetheless, the Phillies get through the 9th inning. Edward Cabrera appears to be getting his glove ready to come in from the bottom of the 9th. But the Marlins will not keep him in. They'll instead go to the closer, Jordan Hicks, looking for his 36th save. Edward Cabrera has been great tonight, but he is gassed. There's no reason to take him in for the 9th inning with Jordan Hicks, who we know is shut down as he strikes out Trey Turner on the fastball for the first out of the inning. 2 away now for Bohm. Swings at a pitch he shouldn't have. Flown into left field, Encarnacion under it, and he will make the play. The Marlins win 3-0. They take the first of a 2-game set here in Philly. And so if the Marlins win the game tomorrow, they will take over the 3rd wild card spot in the National League. A very good pitching performance here from Edward Cabrera, only allowing 3 base runners in 8 innings, not any runs allowed from him. He was fantastic the entire way. One of his best starts of the year, which says a lot because he has obviously been fantastic. In my opinion, the Marlins' most consistent pitcher, maybe the most consistent player on this team this year, the way he's produced. The offense was not great, but we did have the big homers from Jazz and then Jacob Berry, and obviously that's all we needed to ultimately win the game. Jordan Hicks, of course, shutting it down as well in the 9th. The Phillies offense just did absolutely nothing, and this is a good lineup. Andrew Painter was good, the bullpen was solid, but Edward Cabrera was too good. And ultimately, that'll be the difference in this game. So we are now half a game back of the Phillies. If we win this one, we will take over the 2nd wild card spot. So since there's a lot on the line, so we're going to quick manage. And we're facing off against Bailey Falter, who's not all that good of a player. So hopefully we can capitalize as we get a couple runners aboard for Rowdy Tellez, who grounds out. Jesus Luzardo is on the mound for us as the Phillies will load the bases. Randall Grichuk drives in 1 off of a sac fly, and that's it. Could have been a lot worse. And De La Cruz immediately ties it with a solo homer in the top of the 2nd. So we are knotted up at 1. The Phillies looking to respond in the bottom half of the inning, and it looks like they will. Alec Bohm with a 3-run shot after a pair of walks. So the Phillies lead early, 4-1. We got to respond with 2 guys on. Nothing. Luzardo's got to pitch a lot better as he makes it through the 3rd pretty easily. Now we're getting some base runners on here in the 4th. Gavin Lux drives 1 in off of a single. Luis arrives with a sac fly, and we bring the lead down to 1. If this game stays close, we're definitely going to hop in late as Luzardo gets through another inning. Tellez with a double. Can we drive him in? We don't. So the Phillies hold on to their lead. We'll make a pitching change here after the 4th inning. Braxton Garrett will come in out of the bullpen. He allows the bases to be loaded with nobody out. Grichuk drives in 1 off of the sac fly, and that's it. Could have been a lot worse. So now we trail by 2. Bailey Falter is still in the game. He's allowing a couple of base runners, and they'll take him out for Mick Abel as Fortes hits a double. That'll drive in 1, and that's all we get. So it's 5-4 going into the bottom of the 6th. Garrett allowed a few base runners in the last inning, so we're going to take him out for Reynaldo Lopez. He gets through the inning with no trouble. Gregory Soto is now in here in the 7th. He gets through the inning pretty easily. Bottom 7, we're going to turn it to Wandy Peralta, who allows a leadoff double to Bryce Harper. Now Grichuk is aboard, and the next 2 batters would be out. So it's a 1-run game going into the 8th inning. I think we've got to hop in here with the game on the line. If the Marlins win, remember, they will be the 3rd wild card in the NL. Jose Alvarado is in for the Phillies. He faces off against Gavin Lux. Lefty on lefty crime as it's a grounded to short, and Turner's not even going to make a throw. So the Marlins get a base runner here. As you can tell, it is quite rainy here in Philly. It'll be interesting to see if the weather causes any delays within the final couple of innings. Luis Arraez pops this one into left, and that one is going to drop for a hit. So the Marlins get 2 runners aboard here. Can they drive these guys in? As that's going to bring up Nick Fortes. He's got a 2-2 count. Pitch from Alvarado, and that one will go for a ball. A lucky call for Nick Fortes. That one was very clearly in the zone. So a few pitches later, now count is full, and he swings at one in the dirt. Not ideal. So from there, the Phillies make a pitching change. They'll take Alvarado out and replace him with Hector Neris, a longtime Philly. He jumped ship to the Astros, who obviously won the World Series against the Phillies. And now, ironically, he's back in Philadelphia as he faces off against Jazz Chisholm with an opportunity to tie or take the lead. And Jazz is going to come up big. That ball goes off the wall. Lux ties it. Arraez looking to score for the lead. He is barely safe by a hair. 2-run triple for Jazz Chisholm. And the Marlins lead at 6-5. Berry will draw a walk. That'll give them another base runner. They just took the lead, but they're looking for more. It's Rowdy time. Rowdy Tellez grounds it up the middle. Hector Neris makes a nice play, but still a really successful inning from the Marlins. They drive in 2 off of a triple from Jazz Chisholm, and now it's up to the back end of the bullpen to finish it off. The rookie, Apollo Takadopoulos, is in for the Marlins, showing off that nasty knuckleball, just ridiculous movement as it gets Aledmys Diaz to strike out. Trey Turner is now up 2 away, the 1-2, and it ends up hitting him. With how slow Takadopoulos pitches, you'd think Turner's going to look to steal second, and he will, but Bohm swings the bat. It's a grounder to third. Berry makes the play, and that'll get the Marlins out of the inning unscathed. They hold on to their 6-5 lead, looking to close it off here in the 9th and put themselves in 3rd place for the National League wildcard. Sir Anthony Dominguez is in for the Phillies with 1 away. He'll face off against Jesus Sanchez, looking to help extend the lead for the Marlins. He strikes out. Dominguez makes it through the inning pretty easily. Bottom 9 now, Jordan Hicks in for his 37th save of the season. We'll see if he can get it. He'll face off against Bryce Harper, who hits this one high and deep in a left field, and that one is in play. Harper will get a double. It looked like that one was going to go over the fence, and yes, the Phillies do have a runner in scoring position, but I thought for sure that was a home run. Let's get another look here at this replay real quick to see what happened there. The Phillies, by the way, will bring in a pinch runner. It's Justin Crawford, Carl Crawford's son. And right there, it hits the top of the green mat. So it's literally inches away, maybe even centimeters from being a homer, but it stays in play. That'll bring up JT Realmuto. He draws a walk, and the winning run is on first with nobody out. Grichuk will look to draw a bunt, but it's a really bad bunt. It's in the air, and Berry catches it for out number 1. That'll bring up Rhys Hoskins. Hits this one nicely into right. If it drops, it could end the game, and it is just barely foul again by mere inches. The Phillies have had multiple opportunities and have lost out literally by inches. 2-2 now for Hoskins. Grounds it up the middle. Hicks is going to get the 1 out at first. That's a smart decision. He could have tried for the double play. I don't think he would have gotten it. So now there's 2 runners in scoring position, 2 outs. An out ends the game. A base hit probably also ends the game in favor of the Phillies, and it's Nick Castellanos who is up to the plate. So the Marlins are going to take this smartly. If Castellanos is put on first, it doesn't really matter because the winning run is on second. So why not intentionally walk him? Because the following batter, Aledmys Diaz, is worse than Nick Castellanos. So that's what the Marlins are going to do. They will intentionally walk Nick Castellanos, and now the bases are loaded. We're in the same situation. Out ends the game. Base hit probably also ends the game. And it's Aledmys Diaz up for the Phillies. He has to take this a little bit personal that the Marlins are basically saying, we want you to hit instead of Castellanos. Grounds it to third. Berry tags the base. Marlins win 6-5. Miami, now the 3rd wild card in the National League. This game literally came down to inches. The Bryce Harper double that looked like a homer. The Rhys Hoskins foul ball that almost dropped fair. If even one of those plays goes the Phillies' way, they'd probably end up winning the game. So the Marlins get super lucky. I mean, it is literally a game of inches. And so Miami takes the 3rd wild card spot. They sweep the Phillies in a short 2-game set. We're only half a game ahead of the Phillies, though, and obviously there's still a whole lot of baseball left to go, so I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. But it does feel good to have a playoff spot in the month of September. We're 5-0 so far in today's episode. Why stop now? We've got some interesting series on deck with the Royals on the road and then at home against the Giants and the Cubs. I wanted to play in Atlanta, so we're going to simulate through these next 3 series, but we're going to do it one at a time. Ideally, within these next 10 games, I'd love to see 7-3. 6-4 fine as well. We would only take 1, though, against the Royals. Not ideal. We scored 3 runs in all 3 games. In the game that we won, we didn't score until the 11th inning. Sandy had 8 scoreless innings, and the bullpen was phenomenal, but the offense took a while to get something going. So we're now half a game behind the Phillies for the last wild card spot, as we've got 4 at home against the tough Giants team, who's also kind of in the race. They're only 4.5 behind the Phillies as the 3rd wild card, so they still have something to play for. So hopefully we can win, ideally, 3 of these games, and we take 1. The one game we won, we nearly blew. We were up going into the 9th inning. Jordan Hicks with a rare blown save. We would ultimately win in the bottom of the 9th, but then lose the next 3. We're now 1.5 games behind the Phillies for the 3rd wild card. So we literally held that wild card spot for like a singular day. It's also worth noting that the Braves have officially won the division. Not that we thought we had any chance of that. So now we've got 3 games against a good Cubs team who leads the Central. And again, we only win 1. In the month of September, we've scored more than 4 runs twice. Edward Cabrera's had 2 scoreless starts during our last 10 games. But in games that Cabrera does not pitch, we've been pretty terrible. We're now only 1 game above 500. We've lost 3 series in a row. I wanted to go 7-3 in those 10 games. Instead, we went 3-7. Not ideal. So now we've got a 3-game set in Atlanta. The Braves are one of the best teams in baseball. They are closing in on 100 wins. And in this first game, we got to face off against Spencer Strider, who, in case you've been living under a rock, is really, really, really good at baseball. This series is going to be a really good test for the Marlins to see how they do on the road against a legitimate World Series contender in the Braves. Obviously, we really want to make the playoffs. I think that goes without saying. But we also want to perform in the playoffs, and I think this series could really tell what you can expect out of Miami in the postseason if they make it. You're going to have to see really good pitchers like Spencer Strider, who was the Cy Young winner in the National League last year. He hasn't been as good this year, but he has still been really good. Facing off against Nick Fortes, grounds it over to 3rd, and Jordan Luplow will make the play. Quick 1-2-3 inning. The Marlins have totally flipped the lineup card for what it's worth. They're really doing a lot of experimenting. They have Jazz at the leadoff hole. Arise is in the middle. They're doing a bunch of different things offensively. Yuri Perez will be starting for the Marlins. 4.01 ERA. He's having a pretty good month of September. For being 20 years old, he is still impressive, even if those numbers aren't necessarily going to light the world on fire. He strikes out Michael Harris to get things going for the first out of the ball game. Raul Acuna is up now with 2 away, and he will hit this one past the diving glove of Gavin Lux for a single into center. Acuna's got some wheels. We know he can move, so you got to watch out for the threat of the stolen base. That'll bring up the number 4 hitter, Matt Olson, the big first baseman, and he hits this one well into left field. De La Cruz, of course, slow as hell to get over to it, and that'll be a ground rule double. If that ball doesn't bounce over the fence, Acuna probably scores. So the Marlins are lucky that ball went over. That'll bring up Marcell Ozuna. Hits this one up the middle, and that should score 2. It'll be a 2-run single as Ozuna from the Braves puts Atlanta ahead 2-0. The former Marlin making a play against his old squad, as that will bring up Ozzy Albies, who swings and misses. He looked like a drunk guy swinging at that pitch. So basically, he looked like Marcell Ozuna on some random Tuesday night in his car. Bottom 2, Joel Miranda strikes out. Miranda was a draft pick last year by the Pirates, traded at the deadline to Atlanta, with Pittsburgh having kind of a logjam in their outfield. Jordan Luplow grounds it over to 3rd. Berry with a nice play. Good 1-2-3 inning for Yuri Perez. So far, the Marlins haven't gotten much going offensively. We'll see if that can change here in the 3rd inning. Gavin Lux is up, 3-1 count against Strider. Grounds this one over to short, and the play will easily be made to wrap up the inning. Good work once again from Spencer Strider with 3 very solid innings, only allowing 2 hits up to this point, as the Braves lead it 2-0. Bottom 3, Michael Harris leads it off for the Braves Another strikeout, this time on the two-seamer. Yuri Perez really seems to be getting comfortable now against a great Atlanta lineup. Zach Genton grounds this one up the middle. Lux is going to make the play. The throw to first is not in time. They'll call that an infield single. However, manager Skip Shoemaker seems to disagree, and he's going to call for a challenge. We're going to get another look. So Miami feels like Zach Genton was out at first, and it was a really close play. Skip Shoemaker has a good track record in his early managerial career with challenges. And man, that one is so close. I think he's probably safe by literal seconds, probably milliseconds. Even if he was out, I almost feel like that's too close to overturn. So I think this play will likely stand, and it will. Genton is in fact safe. It is an infield single as the Marlins end up losing the challenge. Genton now on second for Olsen, the 3-2 with 2 away, and he will draw a walk. So that'll get another base runner here for Atlanta, and that'll bring up Marcell Ozuna, who drove in 2 in his last at-bat. This time he's going to bring 2 back to the dugout, along with himself as he strikes out. Yuri Perez gets through the inning. Let's go top 4 now. Nick Fortes, the catcher, leads it off for the Marlins, and he swings and misses on the fastball. Strider continuing to deal through the opening couple of innings. Jacob Berry now up for Miami, 2-2 count, and he ends up getting plunked. Berry, as you can see, hitting cleanup today. Again, part of the Marlins' big changes within the lineup. Just trying to experiment, trying to see if anything can stick, and right now it is not sticking. Tellez strikes out. 4 scoreless for Spencer Strider. He continues to look dominant. Bottom 4 now. Ozzy Albies is up for the Braves, and he goes down looking on the two-seamer. Nice pitch by Perez. Luis Campusano starting behind the dish. We know him quite well from our Guardians franchise last year. Lines it to left. De La Cruz makes the play. And you got to give Yuri Perez a lot of credit. He's really getting into a rhythm. Started the game off slowly, but he has looked a lot better over the last 3 innings. However, the Marlins offense hasn't really done anything to back him up. Brian De La Cruz leads off the 5th. Hits that one over the glove of Ozzy Albies for a base hit. So the Marlins have a runner aboard. We'll see what they can do with him, as the Braves will make a surprise pitching change. Colby Allard is into the game. I think the thought process here is that Atlanta's a playoff team. They're probably going to be the number 2 seed in the NL. So why waste Spencer Strider's innings now and try to have more of him in October? I think that's why Atlanta's making the pitching change, as Charles LeBlanc will hit this one into left. That'll only go for a single. Both runners thought about advancing, but will rightfully head back to their respective bases. So look at this. The Marlins have 2 guys on. A really nice opportunity to do some damage as Jazz Chisholm grounds it over to second. Ozzy Albies bobbles it, and Jazz is aboard. And with that, the bases are loaded. That should have been a double play. They're calling it a base hit, but I really disagree with that call. I think Ozzy Albies absolutely should have at least gotten the 1 out at first, if nothing else. So the bases are now loaded. A huge opportunity for the Marlins as Gavin Lux strikes out. Don't forget, this Marlins team sucks with the bases loaded. For whatever reason, are they going to leave them loaded again? It sure looks like it. Grounder to Allard. He sends it home to the force out, and that'll wrap up the 5th. The Marlins leave them loaded like clockwork, and it is still 2-0. Bottom 5 now. Jordan Luplow up for the Braves, starting for Austin Riley, getting the day off as he goes down looking. Zach Genton now with 2 away. Hits this one into left center field, and that one looks like it is going to drop in the gap. One hopping off the wall for a double. So now there's a runner in scoring position and a big opportunity for Ronald Acuna Jr., one of the best players in the entirety of the National League. Acuna swings and misses on the changeup. And Yuri Perez with another scoreless inning, and it will remain 2-0. Can the offense get something going here in the 6th? Berry leads it off, hitting from the right side of the plate now. He will strike out. Maybe it doesn't matter who's pitching. The Marlins offense just is not it today. They really haven't been it at all in the month of September. Rowdy Tellez draws a walk, and so that is a base runner for Miami. Can they finally drive one in here? It's Brian De La Cruz. He's 2 for 2 today. He's been one of the only good players offensively. Grounds this one to second. Albies, the throw to first is not going to make it. Ozzy Albies' throw goes offline. That time they will call the E4 against him. And so there's 2 on, 2 away. Full count for Jesus Sanchez, who has really struggled against lefties this year, but this ball is going to drop fair. That'll score a run. Sanchez looking to make his way to second. It's an RBI double, and the Marlins are on the board. They could have tried to send De La Cruz, but it would have been really risky, and I think in hindsight, it was the right call. He probably would have been out. So now Charles LeBlanc has a huge opportunity, and he strikes out. The Marlins leave 2 runners in scoring position. That is now 5 runners left on in just the last 2 innings. But they do finally score here, and it is now 2-1. Marcell Ozuna leads off the bottom of the 6th, and he hit that ball harder than he hit his wife. Solo homer for Ozuna, his 3rd run driven in at the ball game, and it's now 3-1. Yuri Perez was pitching really well, and the Marlins wanted to keep him in, but his leash coming into this inning was very short, and I think they're going to pull him right here. And they will. A.J. Puck comes into the game. Overall, a really solid start for Yuri Perez. The problem is that the offense has not given him much run support. Joel Miranda goes down on the circle change. Puck gets through his 3 batters with ease, but the Marlins do score off the homer by Ozuna. Into the 7th now. Jazz Chisholm leads it off for Miami. Grounds it over to second. Albies with a great play, but his throw is again offline. That's the 3rd consecutive inning with a poor play from Albies. He'll be called with the error. His 2nd at the game. He honestly should have 3, if we're being real. And it's not going to matter whatsoever because Gavin Lux grounds into a 4-6-3 double play. Good hustle, though, if nothing else. But still, it feels like the Marlins really wasted an opportunity there. Bottom 7, Puck still in the game as he strikes out Jordan Luplow. Good pitch for the 2nd out of the inning. Puck now against Michael Harris, who goes down on the slider. Harris is really good, minus the fact that he does struggle against lefties. So the Marlins take advantage of the matchup. 2 pretty good innings from Puck, and we go to the 8th. Well-known minority respecter, Blake Trinan, is in for Atlanta, 2.66 ERA. He will start with Jacob Berry, full count. And Berry hits that one right between his legs for a single into center field. And with that, the potential tying run is up at the plate with nobody out. Perfect opportunity for the Marlins to really make some noise here in the 8th inning. It's Luis Ariz, one of the best clutch hitters in baseball. He's going to pop this one into shallow left field, and Ozuna cannot make the play. It'll drop for a hit. This inning just got real interesting. There's 2 aboard with nobody out as Luis Ariz is rightfully fired up. So now there's a full count for Tellez. If the Marlins can load the bases, realistically, they're probably not going to score anybody. So it might be a blessing in disguise that Tellez goes down looking on the outside pitch. Trinan will be taken out of the game. He'll be replaced by Raisel Iglesias. 1.8 ERA on the season as he faces off against De La Cruz, who grounds it right to Iglesias, over to short, to first. 1-6-3 double play. The Marlins start the inning with 2 runners on, and they will drive in nobody. Bottom 8 now. Reynaldo Lopez is in for Miami. 4.33 ERA as he faces off against Ronald Acuna, who goes down on the slider for the 2nd out. Now against Matt Olson. Can Lopez make his way through the inning with no harm done? Not quite, as he will have Olson draw a walk, and that'll bring up Marcell Ozuna. He's driven in all 3 runs today for the Braves. Grounds it to short. Lux flips it over to Ariz. Good inning for Lopez as the Marlins trail 3-1 going into the 9th inning. And the Braves are going to bring in the closer, A.J. Minter, looking for his league-leading 56th save of the year. That's a lot. He'll start with Jesus Sanchez, who again struggles against lefties, but had an RBI double against one earlier today, and now he draws a walk. Another productive AB for Sanchez, and so the tying run is at the plate, and it's going to be Jazz Chisholm. He's had some very clutch plays throughout today's episode. Not so much that time. He goes down looking, thought that pitch was outside, and now it'll come down to Gavin Lux. He's had a rough one here, 0 for 4. A rare poor performance for Gavin Lux as he swings at a circle change well below the zone, and that'll do it. The Braves win this one 3-1, taking the first game of a 3-game set here at Truist Park. And the Marlins fall to 500, and they continue to get lower within the National League wildcard standings. The offense just did not do well today. I thought Yuri Perez was pretty good on the mound. The only player who really did a whole lot on offense for Atlanta was Marcell Ozuna. 3 runs, 6 hits. Ozuna drove in all 3. It was the pitching for the Braves. They only allowed 1 run in spite of 2, what should have been 3 errors from Ozzie Albies. So we are now 75-75, with just 12 games left to go, and we're going to go through 6 of them right now. We'll start with the rest of this series against the Atlanta Braves on the road, and we end up taking one. So we win 1 of 3 against Atlanta. I guess it could have been worse. The Braves now have 100 wins, and we're now going to get through this 4-game set in New York against the Mets, our final road series of the regular season. The Mets are 4 games behind us, so if they swept us, they could actually tie us and basically take us out of playoff contention. Luckily, they would not end up sweeping us, as we will ultimately end up winning 2 of 4. Edward Cabrera with an 8-inning shutout in the first game. Sandy with a complete game shutout in the second game. I feel like we're relying too much on our high-end pitching. The offense continues to struggle in September. The Giants have passed us in the wild card standings, so now we've got to leapfrog 2 teams in the final 6 games of the year with a record of 78-78. We're going to go through the minor league playoffs, or at least the AA playoffs in the next episode, because Lord knows the AAA team won't make it. And we're going to wrap up the regular season. We're going to find out if the Marlins can make it into the postseason or if we will fall short yet again. That'll wrap up today's episode. I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Peace out.